Welcome back. Another dollar store tool review. We're in the backyard once again, doing a couple of videos, doing some damage to this CHEP pallet here, and I've already tested the drill bits. You can see the holes from that. Next up, I don't know if you remember this guy. This is a 16-ounce hammer that I pulled with the Wellson brand telescoping magnetic tool, right? Okay. Well, I got something else from Wellson. This 12-inch pry bar. Now I'm going to see if I can pull up a couple of boards. I'm going to test several things. I'm going to see how well I can hammer them in without wrecking the teeth on this. See how well I can hammer it in to get to the nails. How well it pries. It's only a foot long. I don't expect to get a huge amount of leverage with this. So I've seen proper pry bars, you know, crowbars, you get 2 feet on them, and yeah, you can really dig with them. But I'm going to see how well the blades, the tips, hold up. See how blunted they get. And see how, you know, basically how strong the metal is. So let's do some damage. First of all, before I do that, let me make sure I got a couple of good shots. The tip. You can see it's not a very shallow slope. It's kind of blunt, but at least it's flat on the ends. Let's see how well that digs in under the wood. Alright, so that's some pretty strong wood, the CHEP pallets. They're not made out of cheap crap. I don't know if they pressure treat them or if they're oak, but they're better than normal unpainted skids. And, well, you can see the damage it did to the back of this, hammering it under. Very trivial, very superficial. Basically, I scuffed the paint. Now, the ends weren't particularly sharp to begin with, but they haven't really been dulled to any real degree. They're still level and flat straight across. There's no divots or anything. So I managed to pry it in, and I didn't bend it. I didn't straighten it out. Yet I managed to hook this CHEP pallet wood. So as strong as this wood is, this pry bar is stronger. Now the pry bar is made of metal, so it should be stronger, but you know what? Dollar store stuff we've seen, dollar store metal does not hold up like real metal. So let me see if I can get to that nail. This has been sitting out in the backyard. See if I can chisel away and get a good grip. This pallet has been sitting in the backyard for over a year now. 13, 14 months. And so these nails are pretty strongly seized in. Wood has not rotted. It's a good strong wood, so let's see if I can get a good grip. Almost. See if I can bang some loose. Chisel away at the wood around it. Get a better shot to get this in. Alright, as you can see, we're in. Look at that. I am going to give that a good hard yank. Let me center it on camera a little bit better for y'all. Oh, this does not want to go. That's not coming out. I don't know if you can see it on the video. I don't think it's going to show up. But I've straightened the pry bar out slightly. It has a steeper curve than this to start with. I'm going to use the hammer itself. Good old-fashioned Stanley brand. Pretty sure, yeah, Stanley. Stanley brand hammer. I've had this for 5 years, 6 years. Oh. Whew. Okay. The hammer got it out. The pry bar didn't. Pry bar has a smaller handle to it. You get a better grip with the hammer. That might have been part of it. Pry bar might have helped loosen it up as well. That's also another thing to take into account. I had to brace myself against that with both feet to keep it from moving around and get on top of it. So that was tough to do, even with the hammer. And keep in mind that a hammer and a pry bar are not the same thing. So I'm not comparing one pry bar versus another. I did bend that pry bar a little. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've bent hammers once or twice. This, I'm not entirely sure. I think this is fiberglass or something like this, the handle, the green part. But I've had metal hammers in the past where I've bent the metal, and brand new wooden ones where I snapped them clean off because that nail was coming out whether it wanted to or not. For the pry bar here though, I might have been asking a little bit more from it than what it had to give. The blade on the tip, it didn't get any dull. I chiseled away with that at the wood to get to the nail, and it still held up solid. The damage I did to here is just superficial. Now I did bend it. I'm not seeing any obvious stress signs along the curve part, but I did straighten it out slightly. This held up really, really well. My thoughts on this is a good 12-inch pry bar. There are things you're going to want to have a 2-foot pry bar or a 3-foot pry bar or something like that. That this won't be good for the job. But for something you would use a 12-inch pry bar for, this Wellson, let me see if I can make sure I can get the name in. Wellson brand 12-inch pry bar. I'm going to give this one a pass. This one is worth the money. I think I paid $2 for this. I got this in a mom and pop store. Wellson's a common brand. You should be able to find it in the big stores as well. So this thing gets a pass. So there you have it. This particular dollar store tool is just as effective as something you'd get from a hardware store. I deem this worthy of the toolbox. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.